The women's plus 87 kilo category. I can't believe that this is the final session on the women's side of this entire Olympic Games. We've covered everything over the last 2+ years specific to this Olympics, and then for 2 years before that, just the athletes and watching them develop. And here we are, we've had it, the culmination of the women's side. And this turned out to be a fantastic session. It was, in many ways, always going to be obvious in terms of who ended up winning. I mean, Li Wenwen is by far and away the best weightlifter. She is the biggest outlier of any weightlifter in their category on the men's and women's side in terms of percentage of what they lift compared to the percentage of the next highest person in that category. She's at about 115% of the next highest. Lasha, I believe, is more like 109 or 110%. But behind Li Wenwen, the world record holder in everything, the young 21-year-old sensation, there was an incredibly tense battle for bronze and silver, actually. Different battles going on at different stages, and they were just sensational. Also, guys, this week's episode, or today's episode, is sponsored by the Weightlifting House plates. We've not got a lot of these left in stock. In fact, I think in the UK we're down to our final couple sets. We've got a few more in the USA. If you live in Europe, you can get them too. We do free shipping in the USA and the UK. So if you're interested in these, the best looking plates on the market, these competition plates, then head over to the link down below. They are 20% off right now. It was Austria's Sarah Fischer who opened up the session with a 93 kilo snatch. Charisma Motorant from Australia then followed up with 95. Fischer went for 97 but couldn't get it overhead, but she followed it up herself, and this time she did much better, so she would end at 97. Then the tripart commission slot winner Juanini Manumua from Tonga took 100 kilos to open and got it comfortably. For those of you who are interested, Juanini is the athlete who would have been selected for Tokyo had Laurel Hubbard not been selected, so that's part of the reason, presumably, why she ended up getting that tripartite slot. Charisma Motorant then did the same thing on her second attempt, and then Manumua took 103 very nicely. Veronica Sladin from the Dominican Republic opened on 105 kilos, which is pretty light for her. She did, however, hit it comfortably, as you'd expect when it's 18 kilos below her best. Charisma Motorant then jumped another 5 kilos for a final snatch at 105 kilos. She did get one red light, but the jury didn't get involved, and so she got 2 whites. A good lift, 3 for 3 for her. Tonga's Manumua then took a final attempt at 106 kilos, but lost it behind. She'd done 100, 103 before that, both makes. Indonesia's Nurul Akmal, a very, very fast-moving super heavyweight, opened at 107 kilos, and it was solid. From the Dominican Republic, Veronica Saladin now came out for her second attempt, a huge 6 kilo jump from 105 all the way up to 111. This again looked solid, but she seemed certain to be well below the best that she has previously hit in the snatch. Akmal then matched her in both weight and confidence. Saladin then moved up to 116 kilos, 5 kilo jump, leaving Nurul to take 115, which she made comfortably. Unfortunately though, Saladin then missed her 116 kilo third attempt in front. She'd be credited with 111. And then this is where the real battle for the medalists began to take place. Our British lifter, Emily Campbell, the European champion, joined the battle at 118 kilos. A very heavy opener for her, but one that she absolutely smoked. Fast, strong, stuck it. Lee Seon-mi from Korea, who was definitely a real threat for the medals. At this point, it's basically Emily Campbell, Lee Seon-mi, Sarah Robles, and Laurel Hubbard fighting for 2 medal spots behind Li Wenwen. So after Emily Campbell hit 118 kilos, Lee Seon-mi from Korea did the exact same lift and made it look just as easy as Emily Campbell. Laurel Hubbard from New Zealand opened at 120 kilos, but couldn't stabilize the weight and lost it behind her. Sarah Robles then showed up and, well, showed everyone how it's done. The 2017 world champion, 2016 Olympic bronze medalist, made 120 very comfortably. In fact, at this point, we all in the office said that it kind of looked like Sarah was going to be the one who went and took that silver, just because she looks so strong. She's total 290 in the past. She's got the heaviest clean and jerk out of that trailing group. So it kind of looked like there was going to be a battle for bronze. Emily Campbell then jumped 4 kilos to 122 kilos for her second attempt. It was very close. She's certainly strong enough for it, but she did just lose it behind. Then Lee Seon-mi from Korea took the same weight and honestly kind of made it look like a warm-up, made that for her second attempt before Emily came back out to retake the lift and make the lift. That is a new competition record, I think. Let's check that. Yeah, it might be actually a kilo less than what she hit at Europeans. Okay, so that 122 matched her best that she hit at the European Championships. Laurel Hubbard then played a really risky game. Having missed 120 on her opener, she jumped to 125. Now, this time she did actually catch the bar overhead, but you know, there's been, I think she dislocated her elbow a few years ago, lots of overhead mobility problems. And though she thought that she'd made the weight, two of the referees disagreed and she got no lift, so it was a press out. The New Zealand team then opted not to challenge for this. Not sure quite why actually, but they didn't. Sarah Robles then made 125 kilos comfortably, looking like a very, very strong contender for the silver medal. And actually then Lee Seon-mi from Korea also hit 125, which meant that Lee Seon-mi, who was definitely in competition with Emily Campbell for that bronze medal, was going to have a 3 kilo lead going into the clean and jerks. Laurel Hubbard from New Zealand did then come out for her third final attempt under huge pressure, needing it to get into the competition. She looped it back behind her head and lost it. So Laurel Hubbard was out of the running. After that 125 bomb out, we then saw Sarah Robles from the USA, who completed her final lift. She went 3 for 3 with 128 kilos before finally it was time for world record holder 21-year-old Lee Wen-wen to open, and she played it very safe. She went to 130. She is known for taking really large jumps. You know, last time when she set the world record was at 148, I think she snatched at the Asian Championships. She opened in the 30s, but even so, she opened at 130 here just to make sure she got an easy lift in. She then followed that by an equally routine looking 135, followed by an equally routine looking 140. In fact, the 140 was the nicest and best looking of the lifts, so she took a 12 kilo lead into the clean and jerks. She was going to win. You can almost forget about her at this point because the real battle comes in the clean and jerks for that bronze and silver medal position. And so just like in the snatches, we had Sarah Fischer from Austria, who took 117 kilos to open up the clean and jerks and get a total on the board. Charisma Amo-Tarrant from Australia then took a safe 123 before Fischer also attempted 123. She got 2 white lights, but once again, the jury took a look and they took the lift away from her. So she then had 2 minutes to come back out, but this time she corrected the problem and made the lift. From the Dominican Republic, Veronica Saladin opened with 125 kilos. Again, well below her best, but it was comfortable and she guaranteed herself the total. Manumua then also took 125, but got nowhere near getting under it. It looked almost like she was just too nervous to push her elbows through. The bar was easily high enough. It was almost like a Clark on the way down. Her second attempt then at it was much better as she showed off a really solid power jerk. She then took 128 kilos, but it was too much for her on the clean. Saladin's second attempt at 131 kilos looked tough and she limped off from the stage afterwards. She got the jerk safely enough, but she looked in doubt to take a third attempt, and so it was no surprise when she ended up declining that third attempt due to some kind of injury. Australia's Charisma Amo-Tarrant then went for 138 kilos, an enormous 10 kilo jump from her 128 second attempt, but unfortunately all 3 referees pressed red for a press out. The jury, however, disagreed though, and so they then wanted to take a look at the lift and they ended up overturning it. So they overturned a 3 red lift, which is kind of crazy. So she ended up with that. She went 6 for 6, 243 total. She was absolutely thrilled. I think she's only 21 years of age, so incredible for her first Olympic Games. Nurul Akmal then took a nice 141 kilo opener, though unfortunately she was just a little bit behind after the snatches, so was unlikely to contend for a medal despite quite a heavy opener in the clean and jerk. Now, of that trailing pack, we had Lee Seon-mi, who was the first to come out at 148 kilos. She made the lift. The British team then tried to respond with 152, which would overtake Lee Seon-mi by a kilo in the total, but for some reasons the marshals didn't accept the change that Stuart Martin put in, and so she had to take 150 kilos. I assume they said that they didn't get it in time, but Stu looked convinced that they had, so not quite sure what had happened there. She did, however, make that lift, that 150, I think just 4 kilos below her own British record or something very similar to that. She got the lift nicely enough, which meant that she hadn't quite overtaken Lee Seon-mi, However, she was now on the board with a really, really good total. Sarah Robles then, who was leading the snatch behind Li Wenwen, then also opened at 150 kilos and made it look very comfortable. Akmal, who was behind in the snatches but had made 141 on her first clean and jerk, wanted to get involved. She took a huge 10 kilo jump to 151 but missed the jerk behind. Lee Seon-mi, who was still just in the lead over Emily Campbell, went for 152 to further that lead for her second attempt, really putting pressure on the British team, and she ended up making that lift very comfortably. Sarah Robles then went for 154 to solidify her very likely silver medal position at this point. She was at 128, 154, which gave her 282 kilos in the total. Akmal then, having missed her 151, jumped to 154, but again, lost it behind. She was out of the running. So we had Lee Si-myeon with 1 attempt remaining, Emily Campbell, who was placed behind her with 2 attempts remaining, and Sarah Robles, who was placed above both of them with 1 attempt remaining. Lee tried 155 kilos on her final attempt to once again just further her position ahead of Emily Campbell, but she missed it, which meant that she was going to give Emily Campbell a shot with 156 kilos of personal record. And so Emily stepped up to this 156, this new personal record, this new British record. She made the clean easily and then landed a great jerk to guarantee a medal. It was just an unbelievable moment just to know that a medal was coming home to Great Britain. We haven't won a medal on the women's side in Britain ever at the Olympics. This was the first medal at the Olympics we've had since the 80s in weightlifting. So this was a huge moment for both her and the country. So at this point, Emily Campbell had 1 attempt remaining and Sarah Robles had 1 attempt remaining. Emily, however, having just hit a 2 kilo PR, would need to go another 5 kilos up in order to overtake Sarah Robles, which seemed incredibly unlikely. And so what Sarah decided to do, what the US team decided to do, was to put 157 kilos on the bar just to extend things and force Emily to have to go even higher than that. The clean was good, as you'd expect from someone like Sarah Robles, and she got the jerk overhead, but there was a little bit of a press out in both elbows. She got 2 red lights. Team USA, Pyrrhus Dimas, once again tried to challenge that decision, but the jury declined the challenge. And so Emily had the final lift before Lee Wenwen came out and won, but she would need to add 5 kilos to her just hit personal record of 156 to overtake Sarah Robles and upgrade herself from the bronze medal to the silver, although momentarily that would actually put her in the gold medal position before Lee Wenwen came out onto the platform. She loaded 161 and headed to the bar, cleaned it just like an absolute champion, and then drove the bar overhead, was slightly forward and slightly over to the side, had to step forward. She did a little cross leg, sort of like 2-step action, somehow got her hips back under the bar, locked out, and after the down signal just fell to the floor, screaming, crying. She knew that it was a good lift. She got 3 white lights, and she overtook Sarah Robles, an incredible competitor in her own right, for the silver medal slot at the Olympic Games. Again, this is Great Britain's first female Olympic medal in weightlifting and the first British athlete to get a medal since the 80s. And so with all the drama and emotion of the battle between Robles, Lee and Campbell, it'd be easy to forget that there was still 1 lifter to go. However, with all of these other lifts completed, it was time for Lee Wenwen to take to the stage. She did the obvious thing. She just took 162 kilos. She holds a world record at 187. She went for 162 very easily just to secure that gold medal. She was thrilled, clearly. She then jumped to 173 for an Olympic record, which she made so easily. She dropped the bar, and at that point she celebrated. I don't think she thought that she was going to come back out again, so she was excited. She went off. Next thing you know, the Chinese had put in for her to go 180. Not sure why. Nice 320 total. It wasn't a world record. Didn't really do much except for further, I suppose, the Olympic record. She came out, and again, she made that look like cheesecake. It was absolutely easy. 320 kilo total. We wouldn't see a new world record from her on that day, but she did cap off an absolutely dominant performance. She's 21 years old, so I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of her. Whether or not she'll ever overtake Tatiana Kasharina's all-time world records of 155, 193, I don't know. Partly because I'm not sure, I'm not convinced she's ever going to be pushed in the same way that Tatiana was to make those lifts, but you never know. She's certainly capable of it. Guys, don't forget today's episode of the Weightlifting House wrap-up is brought to you by the Weightlifting House plates. 20% off our competition plates. I'll put a link down below if you want to have these pretty sick-looking plates in your gym. Saladin. Who's Saladin?
I think it might be Saladin.
Saladin. Chuck the salad in. Alex, don't put that in, please. There's so many good puns there, aren't there? Like, do we really have to get vegetable, Mum? Go on, chuck the salad in. I'm not going to be able to say it now. Saladin's easier. Although that's like if you're at Disney World and you go, who's that? Saladin. Fucking hell. Oh, I'm losing it.
Not really left to do.
No, I need sleep.